Overcoming Depression Part 3, Causes and Where to Start. Type 2, When Others Are the Cause. Stay tuned and subscribe for the rest! Warning, the following video discusses when others can be the cause of your depression, such as in instances of childhood trauma and abuse. Viewer discretion advised. I am not a professional by any means. All of the information provided is from personal experience and personal research. If you or someone you know is struggling, please seek professional help and/or contact 1-800-662-4357 for immediate help if needed. You deserve happiness, and I hope the information provided here can help you get there.
You create what you feel and you can make what you want real. There is a way to make the change. It cannot wait another day.
The second cause of depression, again, from my perspective, is when others are the cause of your depression. And you may fall into this category if you had abusive parents growing up, if you had something traumatic happen to you as a child, or if you just had people that said crappy things to you when you were younger. We all went through that a little bit, right? We all have subconscious beliefs that were formed at a young age from things that other people did, regardless of the degree of what they did, whether they actually abused you, or even if people just said little things to you that made you feel not very good about yourself. Either way, regardless of the degree, it's still impacting your life every day, because whatever happened as a child, with our limited knowledge of the world at that time, we are only able to place the meaning that we can make sense of at that point in time. For instance, if you had a parent that left you when you were young, you don't have the ability to think logically like an adult. You don't have the ability to think, this person left me because they were unfit as a human. They had no business being around kids. They had their own internal struggles that they were dealing with. We don't have the capacity to think like that at that age. So instead, we give the only conclusion that we can think of, which is, I'm unlovable. If I were lovable, my parent would be here, and they're not. So I'm unlovable. This is something that we all just, well, not all, but most of us just made that association without realizing, because that's not something that we make consciously. We don't consciously go, oh, I'm unlovable, that's why they left. It's a subconscious connection that we made because it's very traumatic to have those emotions. It's very heartbreaking, and our brain recognizes that, and our brain's like, okay, what happened, so we can analyze it so that it never happens again, so that we can prevent ourselves from feeling that pain again. Because your brain's job is to keep you alive, which is why when you have made depression a staple in your mind and life, it thinks it's necessary for your survival, and your brain is also supposed to move you away from pain.
This may sound like a contradiction. However, the pain that is associated with depression and the pain that is associated with trauma are not one and the same. Your brain does not feel a need to protect you from depression in the same way it does trauma, because over time depression will feel normal and comfortable, and that tells your brain that it is safe. It does not wish to move you away from it. It desires to keep you there because it is familiar, and what is familiar is safe.
So when things come up that cause such severe pain, your brain looks for ways to analyze it, looks for connections to make so that it can then avoid it in the future. So that connection that you are unlovable is not something that you made consciously. It's a subconscious connection that you made to prevent yourself from getting hurt again in the future. So what happens? You continue on through your life growing up with new relationships with people, but that little thought that you are unlovable is still in the back of your mind because you never fully addressed it, because you didn't even know it was there in the first place. So how can you address it, right? And you don't address it, and you just carry on with your life. And when you have unfulfilling or unsuccessful or downright toxic relationships, you don't realize that you're bringing in what you truly feel that you deserve. You don't realize that you're bringing in exactly what you think that you need. Because when you are younger, when you are a child, when you are a baby, and you have no way to survive on your own, you have to look for your parents for survival. You just have to. There's no choices there, man. And whatever it is that your parents were, whether they were good to you and loved you, or whether they were neglectful and did not care about you at all, whatever way they treated you, that your brain makes the connection that this treatment is how we survive. Because as a child, that treatment is literally how you survived. That was what was needed for your survival, because you didn't know any better. There were these two humans in front of you, and they took care of you for the most part, and whether or not they were good to you in the meantime or not so good to you, that is not what our brain takes into consideration. It just says, okay, survival, and they sucked. All right, people who suck are necessary for me to survive. It's just what happens because our brain is programmed for survival. So when we're looking for a life partner, someone to survive life with, see what I did there? Our brain looks for those qualities that our parents had, good or bad, because it is now how we survive. It is now paired with our survival from a very, very young age. And I'm sure many of us went through a lot of different experiences where people said or did something to us that we then made a subconscious connection and belief that we were unaware of, but took home. And these subconscious beliefs are everything. These subconscious beliefs dictate our thoughts, they dictate how we feel, they dictate what we do in our life, and they dictate who we are. Whatever you believe about yourself, if you believe you're going to be unsuccessful in life, you're not going to be telling yourself that I am incredibly successful, everything I do is going to work out for me, I am destined for greatness. That's not the internal thought that you're going to be having if you have a belief that you are going to be unsuccessful because maybe when you were younger you tried to do something cool and someone told you that's stupid, why would you try and do that, don't do things like that, and you were just like, okay, I believe that it's stupid for me to do things that are different, so I'm just gonna do what everyone else does. And you don't realize you made that belief, and then when you go on to want to be successful, that subconscious belief that was unconsciously made at a young age is still prevalent and just gnawing at your thoughts, and you're going to unknowingly self-sabotage yourself because you don't believe that you're capable of this because of the subconscious beliefs that were made when you were younger. Those stay with you, and you end up unknowingly seeking out experiences that then confirm those beliefs, and you're like, yep, see, I knew it. But it's just your perspective. Your perspective has been shifted, so what you are receiving and perceiving has been shifted right along with it. All have subconscious beliefs that are not serving us. We all have subconscious beliefs that are limiting us, and these subconscious beliefs are feeding our thoughts, and our thoughts are going to be the biggest cause of our depression because that's all we can hear in our mind, and it doesn't just stop at one thing. No. Depression is like a train, and it stops at every freaking station on the train of just despair and misery and worst case scenarios. It really does. So when others are the cause of your depression because of things that they have either done or said to you growing up, the first thing to remember is it's not your fault. It's just not. And I know that that may be hard to believe, but it's not your fault. You did nothing to deserve that. You were harmed. You were hurt by someone maybe that was supposed to offer you the opposite. That's traumatic, and it's not your fault, okay? It's not. And you need to understand that and take that home, because while you continue to blame yourself, it's never gonna go away. And I say that in the hopes to free you, not to make that be daunting, but it won't go away. And you need to realize it's not your fault, because the more that you hold on to that and hang on to that and insist that, no, if you had done this, if you had said this, if you can't take yourself on that train. Because when traumatic things happen like that, you're not able to think logically, and don't put that on yourself to have done something better in the moment. That's out of your control. Okay, these things, when they happen, they really mess with you on an internal core level, and you can't blame yourself for any of it. It's not your fault. The person who harmed you was a deeply struggling, and I use that word to keep things PG, a deeply struggling soul with their own internal battles that they took out on you. They took out their crap on you. It's not yours to hold. It doesn't belong to you. It's not for you. It's not your fault. And that needs to be something that you truly understand and know. Because if you don't, it's not hurting the person that hurt you, as much as we want to get them back, right? It's not hurting them, it's only hurting you. And these things, when they happen, they cause such devastation internally that it is unavoidable to see these patterns play out in your life if you do not address it, because it was so substantial to you that it needs to be healed, it needs to be addressed. And if it's not, it's going to continue messing up things in your life that you don't deserve to have messed up. You didn't deserve the trauma when it happened originally, and you don't deserve to live with the repercussions of not allowing yourself to fully heal from it. Because it doesn't hurt the person that hurt you. They get to carry on with their lives, receiving no consequences, and you letting this affect your life to such a degree that you may not even want to exist anymore on this planet. That's not hurting them. They don't care because they suck. Letting my true feelings come out. But it's true. They don't care because they do suck. And it's only hurting you, and you don't deserve that. So recognize it's not your fault and start working to heal from that, because the only person that it is hurting is you. When these traumatic things happen, you have no choice but to think in the moment that for some reason it's your fault. For some reason you're unlovable, you deserve this. If that's the thought that you're thinking subconsciously, that's going to fall out into the rest of your life. You're not going to have a good job, because if you don't deserve to be loved and to be healed from this traumatic event, if you don't even deserve that, you don't deserve a good job. You don't deserve good relationships. You don't deserve to be happy. You don't deserve to make money. You don't deserve all of these things we tell ourselves that we don't deserve without really realizing. We just don't reach for them because internally we don't think we're worthy of them, because we were hurt at a young age. Something very valuable was maybe stolen from us at a young age. And if something like that could happen to us, why would anything good happen? Why would we be deserving of anything good? And these are the thoughts and the emotions that come to us after these events and continue coming to us throughout everything that happens in our life. So you need to recognize it's not your fault, and you need to take the steps to heal from this, because it's going to continue screwing things up in your life, and you don't deserve that. You didn't deserve the trauma when it happened the first time, and you don't deserve these things to continue messing things up and to continue leading you down this dark hole of despair and depression. You don't deserve that. It's not your fault. Unfortunately though, even though none of this was your fault by any means, you're the only one who has the power to change it. No, it wasn't your fault. No, you didn't deserve it. But yes, you are the only one who can fix it. And that's not fair. I understand that. It's really not. But a lot of things in life aren't fair. And what's even more unfair is to not heal from these and then to let them continue to dictate the kind of life you lead and the emotions that you feel and the thoughts that you think and everything in your life. It's not fair to let that instance dictate everything else from that day forward. That's even more not fair. So if you fall into this category, if you had a traumatic experience, even if it wasn't to quite the degree that we were talking about earlier, even if it was something small or just a lot of small things, those are still just as impactful. Those will still spill out into the rest of your life, leaving you to continue to attract and bring in those same type of patterns that leave you feeling these same emotions from those original beliefs. They're all connected. It's a pattern that doesn't stop until you stop it. And the first way to stop it is by starting with your thoughts. Your thoughts are going to be one of the biggest things when it comes to depression. It's what all of these different causes have in common. However, I want to get more into what you can do later on. So, stay tuned for that.
Subscribe and stay tuned for part 4 of Overcoming Depression, Causes and Where to Start, with type 3, when there is no cause.
You dictate where your mind goes, you decide how your life flows, you're the guide. Don't delay, it cannot wait another day.
And many of us, I'm sure, went through a lot of experiences where people said or did something to us. I'm a teenage boy, apparently.